Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and there's news of the upcoming iPhone already, iPhone 14, as well as a new October Apple event. Apple released iOS 15.0.1 and more. This is your news update for the week of October 3rd, 2021. And the first thing is, we've been waiting for the Apple Watch Series 7. Apple has announced a pre-order date of this Friday, on the 8th of October at 5 a.m. Pacific time or 8 a.m. Eastern time. So it can vary depending on where you live, of course, and then it will start going on sale in the stores if they're not sold out on October 15th. So they've given us this date. We'll be able to pre-order it then and get our hands on the new Apple Watch if you're waiting to update. If you're on a current Apple Watch Series 6, I'm not sure there's a ton to update for, but of course I'll be trying that out and sharing it with you here on this channel, so be sure to check back for that. Now today is Siri's 10th birthday, and if you tell Siri happy birthday, it'll give you a response. Happy birthday.
Thanks. It doesn't feel like it's been 10 years, mostly because I only experience time in CPU cycles.
And you can try this a couple different times. Happy birthday.
Thank you. To think, 10 years ago, I was just a newborn beta. Now I've learned so many skills. Did you know I can recognize songs? For instance, happy birthday.
And so Siri has been updated quite a bit in those many years, all the way back since we had the iPhone 4S, where we could make the use of Siri. So nowadays we have Siri integrated in a lot that we do. I find that I use it a lot to change music in my car, and it's been 10 years. Now, arguably, they can make this much better, and I can't wait to see what they've got next. Now, Apple's new MagSafe Wallet with Find My is having some problems for some people. When you try to add the wallet, it should prompt you to actually add it in Find My. You'll see I added it, and there you go. It's now prompting me to add it in Find My. However, for some people on some betas, it's not showing up. I find that if it's on the public versions, it shows up, and this phone is currently on iOS 15.1 beta 2 and it's showing up. So to add it, you just put it on the back of your phone and then it prompts you to add the wallet. Some people are not seeing this, and I expect this to be fixed in a future software update, and I've also reported it in feedback because I had the issue on some other betas myself. So if you have a MagSafe Wallet with Find My and it's not showing up, maybe give it until the next update to show up so that you can add it to your phone. But quite a few people are seeing this issue. Now, DisplayMate, who rates displays, has given the iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max the best display rating possible, the best smartphone display award. The device earned the company's highest ever display performance grade of A+. Now, that doesn't mean there's not great displays out there from other companies who actually make the display, but it earns that for accuracy, and just like we expect Apple to have some of the best displays out there, it's now considered the best display, as you would expect. Now, in a recent news article with Apple's camera hardware and software engineering team with British GQ, Apple said that it plans the camera updates about 3 years in advance. So the cameras we see now were in the works 3 years ago. We've heard about a periscope zoom camera coming in the future, and we've heard about it for a year or two, so maybe it'll be in the works with iPhone 14, but we'll have to wait and see with that. But this camera in this year's iPhone 13 Pro that I'm holding here apparently has been in the works for that amount of time, and it's a phenomenal camera that I've shown in some comparisons in my review, and I actually use for a lot of these videos now, so it's really been stepped up this year as well. Now with the camera, Apple has promised Apple ProRes. Now we haven't seen this yet in an update. Eventually it will be in our camera settings where we'll go down and enable ProRes for video recording. That gives us high quality, easy to work with files, but they're huge. That's why we have the 1 terabyte options. But in Filmic Pro, we can now use this already. They've actually enabled it in their latest update. So if you use Filmic Pro to film any video, so we'll go down to Filmic Pro here. Under Filmic Pro, we'll let it load. Give it just a moment here, and you'll see that it says ProRes in the upper left. I have that enabled under Settings. And if you go to Resolution and scroll down, you now have the option for ProRes. So you can use that now, and you have the option to have the highest quality available, although you'll have giant file sizes, and it will take some time to transfer off from the phone. So hopefully Apple gives us maybe USB-C in the future, because transferring a terabyte of data or more can take quite some time. Now, the iPhone 13 Pro apparently costs more to produce than the previous generation by about $30. $548 is estimated for the cost of the 12 Pro, $570 for the 13 Pro. This is according to Tech Insights, who evaluates the overall cost. Now, this doesn't take into account anything that's maybe deals that they have for producing millions of them, but that means that Apple is charging about 2 times the cost of what they use to make the device, and they earn about an extra 100% profit on that device. Now, I'm not sure if that includes the shipping or freight and all of those things, but that's more than it used to cost quite some time ago, and they didn't pass that on to us this year at least. So that's nice to see if it is in fact more expensive. Now, if you have iOS 15 installed and you've been having a lot of issues with Apple CarPlay, it's not just you. Quite a few people have had this issue. Everything from freezing, it not working, some of the maps not working. On Apple's support website, there are quite a few articles with people having issues, and many of you have responded through Twitter or messaged me or emailed me asking if there's problems. I've even had some friends message me and say, do you know of any issues with CarPlay? It's not working. And that friend may have had a Honda or something else, but it doesn't seem to be the specific car. It seems to be across a lot of different manufacturers. So a lot of people are still having that issue. Now, in France, if you have an iPhone 13, Apple is still including AirPods in the box since France requires all phones to be shipped with a hands-free kit by law. Someone posted on the Mac Rumors forum a picture that they include the box of the iPhone 13 or 13 Pro inside another box that in turn has EarPods inside. So they include those headphones, and it's just something that they require by law. Although we don't require them here in the United States, it would be nice to have maybe an option for a charger if you've never had an iPhone before, or maybe you don't have a USB-C charger, so you wouldn't have to purchase that separately. Now, with the upcoming iPhones, the iPhone 14, we're starting to hear that as Apple actually plans out for years ahead of time and then has to ramp up manufacturing, get things settled before they start producing it sometime mid next year. Digitimes is reporting that it could have 2 terabytes of storage for that Apple ProRes. As Apple continually improves the cameras, that seems to make sense. But again, as I mentioned earlier, we really need something to transfer that data off more quickly. When you're dealing with terabytes of data, Lightning is just not fast enough. USB-C would be fast enough, and AirDrop isn't fast enough unless they update the protocol for that. So maybe we'll see something with that in the future. Now, if you haven't heard already, Mark Gurman is saying that there will be a completely redesigned iPhone 14 that will resemble the iPhone 4 and 4S. So instead of having a camera bump, it could be flush this time around, where it's a nice smooth back. A lot of people have been wanting that, and also would have sort of a stainless steel frame with glass sandwiched front and back. So I would love to see this design return. This was my favorite design. The current design is great. It's somewhere in between the 4 and 5, and I think this would make for an even nicer phone for next year. So I would love to see that if they could actually integrate the cameras into the back so it's flush again and just sort of change the style of their phones overall. I would love to see that. Of course, maybe no notch as well, but Mark Gurman is saying to expect a complete redesign, but you just never know at this point since a lot of leakers were wrong this time around with the last event. Now, as far as iOS 15.1 Beta 3 or release candidate, many of you are asking me when we can expect the final release. Well, based on what we've had already, we got an unexpected update last Friday with iOS 15.0.1. Because we have that already, I would expect Apple to push out a few more betas or maybe a release candidate as soon as tomorrow, meaning that we would have the final version in a couple weeks. Now, based off of that, we had Beta 1 and Beta 2 week to week, and so that would mean tomorrow we would see iOS 15.1 Beta 3, possibly release candidate based on what they did last year with 14.1, where we only had a release candidate and then a final version on the 20th of October. Since we're somewhat around that time frame, maybe we'll see a release around the 20th, or maybe they'll push it a little bit further. So I would expect a final release within a couple weeks at this point, although because we have 15.0.1, maybe they could push it out to November. However, in October, we're waiting for a new Apple event. Mark Gurman is said to expect an Apple event in October for the new M1X MacBook Pros. So we've been waiting for these upcoming MacBook Pros where we'll have a replacement for the 13-inch, or maybe it's just an addition to, but instead of the 13-inch MacBook Pro that I have here. We would have an all-new 14 and 16-inch M1X MacBook Pro with a redesign with some new ports. It's been said that we'll have not only Thunderbolt ports, but we'll have an SD card slot along with HDMI and maybe a new MagSafe port. But I can't wait to see what we have. And along with that, we could even get a Mac Mini Pro, as some people are calling it, a new sort of Mac Mini that has Pro features with a new chipset in it. So we're waiting for that, along with maybe some AirPods 3. Some people are saying to expect AirPods 3 at that event, so we could have a couple Macs as well as AirPods. But I do think we'll have some sort of event in October. We don't know the exact date, of course, but maybe within the next couple of weeks we'll know that. I would expect if we have an event maybe in a couple Mondays to see invites as soon as this week or next week. But again, I would expect some sort of event, as Apple typically does year over year, where they have one in September and October, sometimes even November. So look for that, of course, with those new M1X MacBooks. I can't wait to see what we have with those. Now, also with the M1X MacBook Pro launch or that Apple event, I would expect macOS Monterey to be sometime in the week that they announce the new Macs. So typically they'll give us the update in that week and then have pre-orders go live that Friday. So it could be within the next 2 to 3 weeks that we see macOS Monterey. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I would love to see it this coming week, maybe next week. It would make a lot of sense, but they don't want to reveal too much code to give away the new products with macOS Monterey as they get that ready as well. And hopefully we'll have universal control and more. Now, as far as the iPad is concerned, if you've been following any of these videos, I've been talking about possibly an OLED version of iPad Air or iPad Pro. That never really made a whole lot of sense since Apple is all in on mini LED with the Pro models and then LCD with this iPad Air. According to Ming-Chi Kuo, they've now dropped the OLED iPad altogether. That makes more sense to me since Apple typically sticks with a technology that they've been working on. So a mini LED iPad Air makes more sense to me than moving over to OLED for everything else. While OLED does have some advantages, mini LED does go much brighter. So there's advantages to each. Of course, we'll have to wait and see. We never know, but it seems like nobody gets it right these days. So we'll have to see as far as iPad goes, but we do expect an event in October, like I said. So of course, all of those things are expected. And as soon as I know more as far as the updates, I'll have videos on those as well, and new products and Apple Watch and more. So look forward to those. And also I've been using the 13 Pro so I can review that. This is my main phone right now, has been for quite a few days now. And so I'll be reviewing that fairly soon, hopefully later this week. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.